A very good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America in Washington, and this is the Diaspora Forum. I am.
And I'm Marvelous Mhlanga, broadcasting from my home in Washington, D.C. this Wednesday, September the 15th, 2021, due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Tonight on Livetalk, we are talking about COVID-19, the diaspora vote, and other issues.
Yes, and according to the Ministry of Health, as of yesterday, September the 14th, Zimbabwe had 126,817 confirmed cases of COVID-19 since March last year, including 119,216 recoveries and 4,550 deaths. And to date, Zimbabwe has a total of over 2.8 million people that have been vaccinated against COVID-19.
And according to the Ministry of Health, there are roughly about 2,873,893 people who have received their first dose of the COVID vaccine, and 1,926,247 who have received their second dose. And according to the same ministry, there are 3,051 active COVID cases in Zimbabwe. So ke khona manje zulukandaba siyabona ukuthi i-COVID-19 ungazani lokho isidla ubhedu kwele Zimbabwe, noma nje inani labantu ababhubhayo selingani liyehlile, kodwa ke kana umkhuhlane lowo uyamemetheka sibili okumangalisayo. Siyabona ke ukuthi uhlangothi lwezempilakahle luthule ukuthi i-COVID-19 ibulela abantu abayisikhombisa izolo, kodwa abantu abayi-418 bahlolwe batholakala belomkhuhlane we-COVID-19. Nxa sikhangela njalo okwenzakala eZimbabwe, siyabona ukuthi kulabantu abayi-126,817 asebehlolwe kusukela nyakenye batholakala bele COVID-19. Kwathi ke abayi-119,216 ngabantu asebaphepha kumkhuhlane we-COVID-19. Phakathi kwabantu bonke asebebanjwe bele COVID-19 sokubhubhe abayi-4,550. Uhlangothi lwezempilakahle luyabika njalo ukuthi kulabantu 2,873,893 asebehlatshwe ijekiseni yakuqala yokuthi bazivikele kumkhuhlane we-COVID-19. Kuthi-ke abayi-1,926,247 asebehlatshwe okwesibili. Nxa sikhangela njalo-ke nge-COVID-19, siyabona ukuthi-ke kulabantu 3,051 okuthiwa ngama-active cases ye-COVID-19. So kunjalo-ke Marvelous.
Aiwa, tinokuchingamidza ine mufaro pano pachirongwa chedu cheDiaspora Forum chinotarisa zviri kuitwa nezvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zviri kunze kwenyika. Nemusi wechitatu kudai September 15, tombotanga titarisa isu zviri kuitika panyaya yedenda rechirwere cheCOVID-19. Bazi rezveutano rinozivisa kuti kubva nezuro uyezve kubva muna March gore rapfuura, Zimbabwe pari zvino ine vanhu vasvika ivo 126,817 vabatwa neCOVID-19. Pachitiwo vamwe vakabatwa nedenda iri vakarikunda vasvika pa119,216. Kozouyawo vamwe vakatisiya mushure mekurwara nedenda reCOVID-19 vasvika pa4,550. Totarisa isu vawanikwa ivo vachibayiwa nhomba dzeCOVID-19 munyika pari zvino vari kudaudzira 2.8 miliyoni. Bazi rezveutano rinozivisa kuti rinoda kuti ribaye vanhu vanosvika ivo 10 miliyoni kuti nyika iwane yavanoti ivo herd immunity. Saka pari zvino tinoona kuti hurumende iri kuunza mimwe mishonga yekuti vanhu vawanikwe ivo vachibayiwa neuwandu nhomba iyoyi yeCOVID-19. Tichange tichitarisa zvakare zviri kuitika munyaya yezvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zviri kunze kwenyika zvavari kusangana nazvo panguva ino yeCOVID-19, uyezve zviri kuitika munyaya dzezvematongerwo enyika, apo vari kunze kwenyika vari kuchemera kuti vari kuda kuti vawane mukana wekuti vakwanise kunge vachivhota musarudzo dza2023. Saka tinoona kuti mamwe masangano anopikisa akadai seMBC Alliance vachange vari kuNew York kumusangano weUnited Nations General Assembly nemusi wemugovera vachiratidzira vachiti ivo vanoda kuti vakwanise kunge vachivhota. Tozoonawo ZANU-PF iri kuti zvakare inenge iriko ichiwanikwa iyo ichiti iri kufara nemabasa ari kubatwa navaEmerson Mnangagwa. saka tinenge tiine vanyarikani vanobva kumapato akasiyana-siyana vachitaura ivo kuti panyaya iyi yenyaya yediaspora vote vakamira papi. Tichanzwa zvakare kubva kune gurukota mutevedzeri wegurukota rezvekuburiswa kwemashoko vakindness Baradza vachange vachitaurawo pakamira hurumende panyaya yekuvhota kwevavo zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zvinogara kunze inonzi iyo diaspora vote.
And today, marvelous representatives of the Patriotic Zimbabwe's party, PZP, met with members of the Parliamentary Legal Committee following a petition that was submitted to Parliament recently by the PZP, which is pressing the government to allow millions of citizens living outside the country to vote in all national elections. PZP Youth Chairperson Mpilo Matutu, who actually attended the parliamentary session, said the Parliamentary Legal Committee asked the party to come out with tangible methods of conducting elections outside the country, since the government has indicated that it can't conduct polls in different countries, so due to logistical problems. The Zimbabwean government indicated in the past that there is also need to amend the nation's electoral laws in order to allow Zimbabweans living in the diaspora to vote. So kunjalo ke mavela sokuthi ibandla leli libizwa nje kuthiwa i-Patriotic Zimbabwean Party elikhokelwa ngumnumzana Charles Mutama eselibhotaphote lapha lathi lokhu ukuthi abantu bengavoti kuyahlupha. So namhlanje ke i-Parliamentary Legal Committee ike yahlala labo phansi babuza ukuthi pho elifuna kwenziwe kuyini. So ke kukhulunyweni lapho ukuthi hayi ungangcono ukuthi okungalungiswa kube ikhona ukuthi kumele kubekwe imithetho emitsha eZimbabwe, njalo lokuthi bona i-Patriotic Zimbabwean Party ekaMutama ibuye lamacebo ukuthi kukenziwani. So sike saxoxa ke lo Mpilo Matutu chairperson wabasakhulayo othe kukayangazani kuvunyelweni ukuthi kumele abantu bangani bayaphitheka ngodaba lolu. So sizezwa ngokuhamba kwesikhathi ukuthi kuhamba njani. Yeah, marvelous.
Aiwa, tiri kunzwapo Gibbs ari kuti pane rimwe bato zvakare rawanikwa nhasi richikwidza nyaya yekuti zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zvikwanise kunge zvichivhota, vakwanisa kunge ivo vachienda vachinosangana nevamwe vadare vemuparamende vachiwanikwa ivo vachinyatsodonongodza kuti sei vari kuda kuti ivo pawanikwe paine diaspora vote.
Yes, we also have Mr. Innocent Ndivali, who belongs to a political party known as the Economic Freedom Fighters Zimbabwe. So he actually sent us a video talking about this issue, because this is one of the most critical issues when it comes to democracy, elections, and so forth. So let's hear what he's saying about the diaspora vote.
EFF, we are encouraging the government to facilitate or to create environment that will enable Zimbabweans who are dotted across the world to vote, because the Constitution, which is the foundational document, guarantees that every Zimbabwean shall be allowed to vote. It is the very reason that the liberation struggle was fought. It was fought for one man, one vote. So it is incumbent upon the government to create an environment, to create conditions, or to put an infrastructure together to enable the Zimbabweans, who are over 5 million across the world, to vote. Zimbabweans, wherever they are determined, they are patriotic, they are committed to their country. We have seen the amount of money that Zimbabweans are sending from.
So he says Zimbabweans are sending a lot of money from the diaspora, marvelous, and according to him, that's why they need to vote, because they are helping the country. Billions of dollars are trickling into the country, every year. So let's hear from some of our guests what they are saying about all this. Go ahead, marvelous.
Aiwapo tanga tiri kunzwa vebato reEFF Zimbabwe vachitaurawo kuti shuviro yavo ndeyekuti zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zvikwanise kuvhota. Asi regai tione kuti tine vanyarikani vapi tinzwewo pfungwa dzavo panyaya iyoyi.
Our first guest is Mr. Charles Mutama, He belongs to this new party. It's called the Patriotic Zimbabweans Party. So he will say a lot about it. Mr. Mutama, welcome to the program, sir.
Oh, thank you, Gibbs, and thank you, Marvelous, for inviting me to this very important platform where we are discussing issues that are related to the diaspora.
Yes, so looking at what you guys did today, give us, a breakdown of what your party did, because we are told you had some kind of sessions with the Parliamentary Legal Committee concerning the diaspora vote. So tell us a bit about it.
Oh, thank you very much. What happened today in Harare at the Parliament of Zimbabwe is part of the Patriotic Zimbabweans Party's quest to ensure that the millions of Zimbabweans who are all over the world begin to access their voting right in future elections in Zimbabwe. Having said that, our representatives, who included our lawyer, Mr. Mahanda, our Secretary for International Relations, Honorable Pisha M. Chauraya, our National Chair Lady, Ms. Monica Borerwe, and our Youth Chairperson, Ms. Mpilo Matutu, attended a committee meeting which was a follow-up to a petition we submitted in May this year, requesting that the legislative arm of the government allow us the opportunity to submit our petition or our submissions around the availability of the diaspora vote or the enfranchisement of the diaspora in future elections. So they deliberated this morning, where our lawyer and our Secretary for International Relations made a general and legal argument around the diaspora vote. And from the reports that we received from our representatives, the parliamentary committee, which is led by ZANU-PF, which has a majority in parliament, was forthcoming and excited to work with Zimbabweans, and particularly ourselves, to ensure that we provide models in other countries where the diaspora vote is in existence. So our representatives were asked or tasked to provide to Parliament in a written form the models that exist somewhere else in Africa or even outside Africa, to see how this process can move forward, probably next to the amendment of the Constitution, so that it can be aligned with the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which clearly allows all Zimbabweans to vote according to Section 67, subsection 3 of the Constitution. Thank you.
But at the moment, it's difficult for you to cast your vote if you are in Washington, if you are in UK, if you are in Australia, because according to the laws of the country, this is a constituency-based voting system. So is that the reason why diasporans cannot vote?
You are correct. The current laws that relate to elections are constituent specific and even ward specific. So we want to make sure that they extend to those who are living abroad, so that they can be able to vote for a presidential candidate, for parliamentary candidate, and even a councillor. So what it means is the current constitution or the Electoral Act has to be amended so that it can be in line with the Constitution. The Constitution of Zimbabwe gives, but the Electoral Act takes. So we want to make sure that both of them are in agreement or are aligned, so that the diaspora, who are included in subsection 3 of our political rights in section 67, can also be given that opportunity to cast their vote from wherever they are.
Marvelous.
Vamutama mungatitsananguriro here zvaitika nhasi panyaya yekuti zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zviwane mukana wekuti vavhote vari kunze kwenyika?
Zvawanikwa zvichiitika nhasi muHarare ndezvekuti makurukota ePatriotic Zimbabwean Party anosanganisira gweta redu vaTrust Mahanda, anoona nezvekunze kwenyika munyori wedu vaHonorable Pisha Muchauraya na mukuru wemadzimai vamai Borerwe pamwe nemukuru wevechidiki vaMupilo Matutu vawanika vachienda kuparliament pazuva ranhasi pamwe chete navaAlex Marava national coordinator wePZ ndanganda vakanganwa vawanika vachienda kuparliament kuti vanotaura nenhengo dzeparliament pamusoro pesarudzo dzezvematongerwo enyika dzatoda kuti dziwanikwe dzichipiwa kodzero idzodzo kune zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zviri mhiri kwemakungwa. Saka naizvozvo pamusangano waitwa nhasi pakati pekomiti kana kuti dare reLegal and Parliamentary Affairs nemusangano wedu wePatriotic Zimbabweans tawanikwa tichiudzwa kuti isu now chinangwa chedu chinotevera ndechekuti tiwanikwe tichienda kunzewo kuti tichiongorora kune dzimwe nyika kuti dziri kupa kodzero idzodzo kune vana vadzo vari mbiri kwemakungwa vanozvifambisa sei mukusarudza vatungamiriri vanoda. Saka nemusangano waitwa nhasi isu takwanisa kuvatsanangurira kuti kune nzira mbiri dzinogona kuitwa absentee voting dzakafanana e-voting kana kuti postal voting. Vakati ivo vanoda zvekare zvakadzamisisa pamafambisiro anoitwa sarudzo idzodzo kune dzimwe nyika. Saka ndo zvatichaita zvakaita kunyorwa pasi toendesa kudare reparamende kana vachinge vawanikwa vachiverenga magwaro evo vachavapa pamusoro pedzimwe nyika idzi dziri kuita sarudzo idzodzo vachatidedza zvekare toenderera mberi nekugadzirisa chishuwo chedu zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zviri mhiri kwemakungwa kuti tiwanikwe tichisarudza vatungamiriri vatinoda muZimbabwe.
Thank you very much, and stay on the line there. We're coming back to you shortly, Mr. Mutama. So we had a discussion with Mr. Mpilo Matutu about what transpired in Parliament. Here he comes.
Salibonani Mahlabezulu, ibizo lami nguMpilo Matutu, national chairperson webandla lePatriotic Zimbabwe, ibandla elitsha elikhokhelwa nguCharles Mutama. Ibandla leli lithe lenelisa ukuthi namuhla liyohlalisana phansi le-August House sihambisa isicelo sethu sokuthi abantu abaphila bephandle kwelizwe leZimbabwe kodwa beyizalo leZimbabwe benelise ukuvota. Ngemva kokuthi ummeli webandla lePatriotic Zimbabwe esethe echasisela i-portfolio committee yona le Justice and Legal Parliamentary Affairs echasisa ukuthi kungani silesicelo leso njalo ukuthi isicelo lesi sizasisiza ngani sizanceda ngani abantwana abaphandle kweZimbabwe kodwa bengabe eZimbabwe. I-committee ithe ikuzwa lokhu yabuza eyayo imibuzo njalo yakhanya ingani lokhu kuzwisisa lokhu kade kusuggestwa kumbe kubekwa ummeli wethu. Kuthe ngemva kokubeka kwammeli wethu wasesithi kungenziwa kanjani ukuthi abantwana abaphandle kwelizwe leZimbabwe bavote. Ngalokho wasokuvunyelwana ukuthi iPZ izasoka lapho iyophuma lendlela ezijikelele ezizachasisa ukuthi kungenziwa kanjani ukuthi abantu bavote bephandle kwelizwe leZimbabwe. Ngakho njengePZ sikwenze kwacaca ukuthi thina abantu kumele bavote bephandle kwelizwe leZimbabwe. Ngiyabonga.
Yeah, so that is Mr. Mpilo Matutu, who says, you know, after all the deliberations, it seems as if the Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee actually understood what they were talking about. And it was agreed that they should conduct some more research, and that is Mr. Mutama's party to actually conduct a lot of research. So we're also joined by our second guest, and that is Mr. Regis Vusango of ZANU-PF. Mr. Vusango, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Brother Gibbs.
Yeah, so this diaspora vote issue is something that is very critical, you know, in terms of democracy, in terms of giving Zimbabweans a right to, you know, decide their destiny. So now there are these moves by different organizations in trying to make sure that there is a diaspora vote in Zimbabwe. So tell us a bit about your opinion, plus how the party is thinking about some of these things.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the other party, political party that went to the parliament today to sit with the legal and parliament and legal affairs, Comrade Paul Mangwana and the rest. I think they were given a good task, and I think that task will accomplish some of the problems we have as far as diaspora vote is concerned. My own opinion is that diaspora vote, I've been always standing for it. It is good. We as children of Zimbabwe, we need to come in as citizens of that very country. How to do that is always the issue, because when you are casting a vote and you are not in the country and you are casting your vote, you are not at a polling station, and that is being regulated by the Zimbabwean authorities, the ZEC and all the electoral systems. It is very difficult for that vote to be legitimate. So now legitimacy is going to be a problem, because if we just jump to do it without looking at all these loopholes, we'll end up having problems where the election will be contested, will be the result of the vote will be contested again. So I would think that the task that the other political party there was given is a very wonderful task. I think the findings of that task will help us to look at things that we might have not seen. We know there are other countries who have done it, who are still doing it, but how did what we look at see? We need a master copy of those that have done it, because as far as I'm concerned, I think we might have issues in terms of who really has casted the vote. If this process is done quickly without a little bit more consideration into unforeseen issues. So, but I want to thank the government and the committee that met today at the parliament. Our government, or the party that is leading the government, does not shun people away. We give our citizens a chance to come in with their concerns, and I'm sure it was a fruitful conversation or meeting that they had. This is how the government that is led by Comrade Idi Mnangagwa is all about. I think he promised that I'm a listening president, and each and every sector that he's leading is also a listening sector. So people should go with their concerns. What we expect is that diaspora vote will not come because of protest. It won't come because you demonstrate. It's not about demonstration that you get a diaspora vote. This is maturity that this new political party has shown. We would expect, or we were expecting, all the political parties to behave this way. Because when you be like this, you become patriotic. You see that you are not having any hidden agendas in what you're trying to look for. And definitely when you do that, you will get a reception, a good reception, and your considerations will be actually looked at. So
Thank you.
I think, thank you for now.
Yes, thank you so much. Marvelous, you may chip in there.
Vusango, ini sebato reZANU-PF, ndezvipiwo zvamuri kuona panyaya iyoyi yekuti zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zvikwanisa kunge zvichivhota zviri kunze kwenyika?
Right, ndotenda Sister Marvelous. Ini ndichitarisa nyaya yediaspora vote, takaitaura pamanhano dzakawanda nyaya yediaspora vote. Iniwo ndakatomira ndiri pano ndiri kuno kuCanada kwandiri. Diaspora vote chinhu chakanaka nokuti vamwe vedu havakwanisi kuti vaende kuZimbabwe kunovhota. Saka kana vakapuwa opportunity yekuti vakaste mavhotsi avo vari ikoko, zvinobatsira, because inenge iri kodzero yavo sevana veZimbabwe vanogara kunze kwenyika yeZimbabwe. Asi nyaya yediaspora vote haisi nyaya iri easy maningi yokuti inoda kumanyiswa as if pane imwe hidden agenda, pane chimwe chakavanziwa chainoda choda kuti chiitwe accomplished. Isi tiri kuti isu diaspora vote chinhu chakanaka, hapana munhu akaramba diaspora vote. ZANU-PF hairambi diaspora vote. Even the president himself is not havasi kuramba diaspora vote. asi diaspora vote inouya nezvibingamupini zvakawanda. Zvibingamupini zvokuti kana munhu achikasta vote yake asiri papolling station yakatariswa nezek, nokuti maresults aya anoda kuti agoverengwa panongopera maelection, panongopera casting yemavotes, maresults aya anofanira kuverengwa. Now kana ari maresults okuti achaitwa by mailing ballots, takazviona kuti ndo contestation yakaitika kuna naVaTrump right now, kuti yanga nyaya yekuti ma-mailing ballots zvakakonzeresa a lot of political issues kuAmerica already pa-election iyoyi yapera kuAmerica. Hatisi kuramba ma-mailing ballots, but tiri kuti isu kana munhu akavhota asiri munyika tisina kunyanya kuzvitarisa kuti ma-loopholes aripo ndeapi ekuti vote iyoyo inogona kuzova contested, vamwe vakuti no, hatifungi kuti pangaitwa zvinhu zvakanaka. Isu seZANU-PF, isu segovernment yeZimbabwe iri kuranwa neZANU-PF, indona sokuti zvine zvakanaka kuti tinyatse kutarisa fanika komiti political party yainda nhasi kunosangana neparliament yeGAFS indai munotarisa zvakati nezvakati, kana moisa mozvinyora pasi mouya nazvo zvoparliament handitika zvotarisiwa zvionekwa kuti chii chatingaita kuti are we ready senyika tasvika here papoint yokuti diaspora vote it's good for the country. We know kuti vanhu vari kunze kwenyika ndo vazhinji vari kuchemera diaspora vote, but indoona sokuti even ma-political parties ari kuZimbabwe vanotodawo kuti mavotes edu tiri outside. Saka diaspora vote haina kushata, ngaisamanyiswa nokuti pakuzomanya apa kapa hatichazivi isusu kuti chiko chiri kuita kuti vamwe vanyanye kuita ine hari kuti toda diaspora vote, but a process ine ma-legal implications ayo achaitwa looked at. Kana zvaitwa zvese zvahwerengedzewa zvochionekwa kuti diaspora vote kana ikaitwa izvi zviri kuleft ndo zvingatikanganisa, zviri kuright ndo ma-advantages edu zvohwerengedzewa zvochionekwa kuti kana tikati 1+1 inobuda 2 here kana kuti haibalance. Saka izvozvo zvinhu zvokuti let's not rush, ngatimirirei kuti vapuwa basa sevava vapuwa basa rokunzi munoita nesuwo vana veZimbabwe vari outside ngatisachemera kungotoda diaspora vote, ngationei kuti chii chinogona kuitadzisa kuti ibude zvakanaka, chii chinogona kuita kuti ibude zvakanaka, so that kana diaspora vote yaita isaizoitwa reversed, nokuti inogona kuitwa pa1 election ka yoonekwa kuti yakakonzeresa then yobva yatobhaniwa zvachose taruza tisu because vamwe vedu muri kuda kugara kuno kudiaspora for the rest of your life. Saka ndotendawo kuti ngatiregere kumanyisa government, ngatitei kuti government ngaipuwe time handitika yokuti inyatse kuongorora zvinhu zvese kuitira tipuwe diaspora vedu yakanaka isingazocontestiwi pama-election kana ma-election awinwa. Ndatenda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vusangu. Let's bring in Mr. Tenmoyo before we take Mr. Tawata Sokola. So, Mr. Tenmoyo, welcome to this program, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the diaspora vote, there are so many initiatives. We saw today the Patriotic Zimbabwe's party actually taking the matter to parliament. So, give us your take on what is going on right now.
Yeah, the diaspora vote is imperative for all Zimbabweans. I'm sure there is no Zimbabwean who's outside, who's living in the diaspora, who would not want to vote and select and choose a leader of their choice and their liking. We need to understand that our constitution, the 2013 constitution, which came into effect in 2013, allows for a diaspora vote. So my colleague there, Regis Vusango, I'm surprised that he is saying that some people are rushing it. I mean, it's already been, 8 years now since that constitution came into being, and we are still denied our right to vote. Secondly, this is nothing new. It's not like we're inventing a new wheel here. We have several African countries that allow for a diaspora vote. We have our own neighbors, South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique, whose citizens are allowed to vote anywhere where they are in the world. So this is not something peculiar or something new that requires new ideas, new technology, or anything like that. It's just copy and paste. We just have to go to the South African embassy or the Mozambican embassy and say, okay, tell us, how do you conduct your diaspora vote? And we take that blueprint and we apply it to the Zimbabwean community. our people by now should start being registered. This is something that's allowed in the Constitution. All that was left was for the Electoral Act to be aligned with the new Constitution. We've raised these issues for a very long time, demanding this diaspora vote. We've had cases being had in the Supreme Court in Zimbabwe. We had one as recent as 2018, which was filed by, I believe it was Gabriel Shumba from South Africa. That was denied on reasons that were frivolous, really, from the government. So we have seen this tendency of the government not denying us our right to vote, and at the same time accepting our remittances, which I believe this year could be as high as $5 billion. So you can see, I mean, even the Minister of Finance, Mthuli Ncube, has confirmed that the diaspora has been sustaining Zimbabwe over a long period of time, because we are the ones that pretty much provide the foreign currency into Zimbabwe, because there are no exports going out of Zimbabwe that are feeding into the fiscus. So why is it that such an important constituency is denied the right to exercise their right to vote, denied the opportunity to elect leaders that are going to that of their choice? We, at the same time, we're talking about bringing investments into Zimbabwe. There's a lot of capital that is held by Zimbabweans in the diaspora, which they are willing to repatriate back home and start investing. But because of the political situation and leaders that they have no say in electing, they are reluctant and hesitant to see if their assets will be protected.
Thank you so much. Just briefly, then Marvelous will go for Mr. Sokora.
Yeah, ebengisho Mr. Gibbs ukuthi udaba le-diaspora vote ludaba oluqakatheke kakhulu ebantwini bakithi beZimbabwe esingaphandle kwelizwe. Si-contributor kakhulu kuhulumeni, ku-fiscus eZimbabwe to keep the country running. Kulo nyaka nje kuphela si-expecta about $5 billion ezothunyezwa ngabantu beZimbabwe abangaphandle isiya Zimbabwe. Imali eningi kakhulu engena ku-GDP encedisa ukubana iZimbabwe ibe le foreign currency. So i-constituency yabantu laba abaku-diaspora i-constituency ebalulekileyo kakhulu ekuthini kumele abantu babe lelungelo, bavunyelwe ilungelo labo lokuvota. Sile constitution eyangena emthethweni ngo-2013, i-constitution le ithi wonke umuntu oyisizalwane seZimbabwe ulelungelo lokuvota. So thina sithi-ke isikhathi sesifikile lapho okufanele ukuthi umthetho i-Electoral Act i-align le constitution yeZimbabwe ukwenzela ukuthi izizalwane zeZimbabwe zivunyelwe ukuvota. Into esikhuluma ngayo akusinto enzima kakhulu, ngoba into evele iyenziwa ngamazwe amaningi ase-Afrika. Omakhelwana bethu i-South Africa, i-Botswana, i-Mozambique iyavumela izizalwane zayo ukubana zivote zingaphandle. So thina sibona kuyinto engasiyo into enzima ukuthi iZimbabwe mayizimisele ukuthi sebenzisane lathi ukwenzela ukuthi lathi sikwazi ukuthi umnotho esilawo ngaphandle ngapha siwulethe eZimbabwe sithuthukise ilizwe lethu. Kumele sinikeze ilungelo lethu lokuthi sivote.
Yes, now we're joined by Mr. Sokora of the MDC Alliance, and my co-host, I think she had a slight challenge with a network. So welcome to the program, Mr. Sokora.
Thank you very much, and Magadi Muri Zimbabwe.
We are really fine, and you?
Yes, I'm doing okay. My apologies, I was just getting into New York.
Yes. Yes, so what are you doing there? And there's a light in front of you. I don't know what's going on. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Now you're okay. Yeah, go ahead. So why are you in New York? What are you doing there?
Yes, we are in New York to express our voices on the ongoing issue that my colleagues were talking about, the contentious issue of the diaspora vote. For years, for 3 decades, more than 3 decades, we've been demanding the diaspora vote from the ZANU-PF government. And for 3 decades, the ZANU-PF government have remained adamant to give us our constitutional and our democratic right to express ourselves in the ongoing votes in Zimbabwe. The liberation struggle was fought on the basis to accord each man his vote, each woman his vote. But that has not been realized. I think all the liberation heroes are turning in their graves right now because what they died for has not been realized. Not every Zimbabwean is being accorded their democratic right to vote. And it's surprising that we are where we are today, because here we have 3 fundamentals that I'm going to talk about that are there, that are proven, that are indisputable. We all know that when Emmerson Mnangagwa, after the coup in 2017, he came to the United States of America. He was in New York. And my brother here, Den Moyo, specifically asked Emmerson Mnangagwa a question about the diaspora vote. The diasporans are going to be allowed to vote now that you are here and you're calling yourself a new dispensation. And his answer is on record. He said, yes, there's no reason why the diasporans should not be allowed to vote. And he was also asked at one time by a British reporter about his willingness to have free and fair elections in Zimbabwe. And he agreed. And he said that he was going to allow for electoral reforms in Zimbabwe to be done. And as you know, up to now, not one electoral reform has been enacted. And one of the biggest electoral reforms that we've been demanding as Zimbabweans is the need for the people in the diaspora to vote. And like Mr. Denmoyo correctly pointed out, the diaspora vote is already allowed for as per 2013 constitution. And it's already there. ZANU-PF is already practicing the diaspora vote. You know, it's the people that are here, that are in the Zimbabwean missions in all the countries where Zimbabwe is represented, they vote. It's called diaspora vote. It's diaspora vote. And they have acknowledged in several statements that the diaspora vote is there in the constitution, and we can do it, but we don't have the administrative capacity to do that. Administrative, which means they were talking about money. They actually cited finances as one of the major reasons. But we also all know that it's a record that is there that no one can dispute, that at one time the United Nations offered to sponsor, to give money to ZANU-PF so that they can fully run elections. And the ZANU-PF refused, saying it will compromise our government, you know, and they refused to take that money. And we also all know that the Zimbabweans in the diaspora, and mostly in South Africa, they raised thousands and thousands of dollars so that they could help the government solve that administrative problem that they were citing. And still, the ZANU-PF government refused to accede to the demand for the diaspora vote. So is it a question of the administrative issues that they are talking about, or that there's just no willingness, there's no political willingness on the part of ZANU-PF to accede to the demands of the people? And very importantly, the third thing that I wanted to talk about is the SADC guidelines to free and fair elections, to which Zimbabwe is a signatory. And those guidelines clearly state that every nationality, every person belonging to a country, with Botswana, South Africa, or Zimbabwe, must be allowed to vote. And other countries are doing it. Botswana is doing it. Mozambique is doing it. Most of the countries are doing it. What is so special about Zimbabwe that they are refusing to enact something that they signed for under the SADC set guidelines to free and fair elections? And because of that, that's the reason why we are going to be in New York, to continue to put pressure on the government and to also alert the international community that the Zimbabwean government led by Emmerson Mnangagwa is not the new dispensation after all, and it's not democratic after all, because it's refusing to give us our democratic right to vote. What Mr. Regis is saying, that we should not be demonstrating. I don't know, he's just typical ZANU-PF. He's showing that he's not a Democrat, because in a democracy, if you are not happy about something, you are allowed by our constitution to go in the streets and demonstrate. And that's what we are doing in New York. And surprisingly, ZANU-PF will also be there demonstrating. But they want to refuse that democratic right to other people to do the same thing that they are doing.
Thank you, Mr. Sokora.
Thank you. December 12 movement, and Regis will be there as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tawanda Sokora. Hold on there. We have got some, I think, an interview that Marvelous did with Mr. Kindness Paratza, who's the Deputy Minister of Information. So I'm waiting for my co-host. Maybe she'll come shortly. Before she comes, let's bring in Innocent Diwali of the Economic Freedom Fighters Zimbabwe. Let's hear what he says about this kind of diaspora vote before we go to Mr. Charles Mutama.
Njengebandla le-EFF siyamkhuthaza uhulumende ukuthi elungise inhlelo, elungise infrastructure yokuthi ama-Zimbabweans wonke aphandle kwelizwe, engaba se-Botswana, engaba se-South Africa, engaba se-United Kingdom, engaba se-Australia, engaba se-America, kumbe engaba eNew Zealand, kufuze ukuthi uhulumende elungise inhlelo ukuze abantu bonke abahlala endaweni ezitshiyeneyo bekwanise ukuthi bevota, bekhetha uhulumende abamfunayo. Thina sile belief ukuthi i-government ile capacity to ensure ukuthi abantu bavota. We believe ukuthi i-government le entsha ekhokhelwa ngubaba u-Idi Mnangagwa ilayo i-capacity yokuthi ilungise uhlelo lokuthi abantu bonke bevota. Asiboni thina kule reason or kule justification for not allowing i-diaspora vote. I-diaspora vote must be allowed ngoba wonke umZimbabwean ulelungelo lokuvota. I-constitution yelizwe very clear ukuthi every citizen is allowed to vote, must be enabled to vote, must be supported to vote. And siyafisa ukuthi uhulumende eqalise inhlelo zokuyenza i-voter registration kuma different countries, eqalisa inhlelo zokufundisa abantu ngamalungelo abo okuvota, ngoba thina as understand ukuthi kuyini okwehlula uhulumende, ngoba uhulumende wethu ula i-capacity. And mina njenge leader ye-EFF ngile belief yokuthi uhulumende wethu uyakwanisa ukuthi elungise inhlelo zokuthi abantu bonke jikelele bevote. And because i-politics yeZimbabwe government le opposition sitshintshile, politics yokuthi i-politics yokuphikisana kodwa singathethisani, i-politics ye-development, i-politics ye-peace.
So there you are, Marvelous. That is Mr. Innocent Diwali of the Economic Freedom Fighters Zimbabwe. Speaking about, the diaspora vote, I think we've got a short interview with Kindness Paratza. Go ahead, Marvelous.
Yeah, let's just listen to what he had to say about the diaspora vote.
Constitution haibvumiri kuti chizvarwa cheZimbabwe chinovhota chiri kune imwe nyika. Mutemo uyu unobvumira kuti chizvarwa chese cheZimbabwe chinofana kuvhota muno munyika. Ende pamusoro peizvozvi kunotori utongo hwakaitwa nematarebe edzimhosva makuru atinoti muchirungu court judgments aripo panyaya iyoyi achirambidza kuti hazvikwanisiki kuti zvizvarwa zvezimbabwe zviende kunovhota zviri kune dzimwe nyika kwadzinogara ikoko. Chimwe chinhu ndechekuti mitemo yedu yenyika inoti unovhota uri kuconstituency kwako, kuwadi kwako, papolling station yekwako yawakarejista. Saka kumhiri kwemakungwa hakuna maconstituency, hakuna mawadi, hakuna mapolling stations. Izvi zviri kuno kuzimbabwe. Saka mutemo wedu unobvumira zvakare kuti munhu wese chizvarwa chezimbabwe chinobvumidzwa kudzoka kuzovhota kana nguva yekuvhota yakwana.
Vaparadza, tinoona kuti pane vamwe vemapato anopikisa vari kuwanikwa ivo vachange vari kuratidzira kuNew York nemusi wemugovera panyaya iyoyi yekuti zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zvipiwe mukana wokuvhotera kwazvinogara kunze kwenyika. Munoona sei izvi?
Vanoda kuungana ikoko vachipopota kana kuti vachiita sevari kuUnited Nations vangangopopota zvavo vari ikoko, asi kuno bumbiro remutemo haribvumire izvozvo. Zvinotoda kutoti kuti nyaya yacho vakwanise kuvhota, tinenge taakutochinja bumbiro remutemo iroro. Constitution yedu totoichinja, tototi aiwa zvizvarwa zvedu zviri kunze kwenyika zviri kugara ikoko kana kuita mabasa ikoko vachisenza ikoko vanofanira kuvhotera ikoko.
Asi kavaparadza, tinoona dzimwe nyika dzichizvikwanisa vachishandisa mizinda yavo munyika idzodzo. Zimbabwe ingatadza nei kuita izvi?
Chamunofanira kuziva ndechekuti havana kuungana panzvimbo imwe chete zvizvarwa zvedu izvo zveZimbabwe. Zviri kune nyika dzakasiyana. Saka kuti vese vakwanise kuvhota pachaitwa sarudzo idambudziko nokuti havagare panzvimbo imwe chete. Vamwe vari kuAmerica, kuLondon, kuCanada, vamwe kuAfghanistan chaiko kune hondo variko, vamwe kuSyria, vamwe kunana Kuwait, kupi kwese vakazara ikoko, kuEngland kwese vakazara. Saka hatizokwanisi senyika kuenda kwese uku tichiti vhotai. Chimwezve chamunofanira kuziva ndechekuti Zimbabwe iri pamasanctions. Saka zvairi pamasanction kudaro, vanozovhotesa vacho vanogona kunyimwa mavhisa ekuenda kuAmerica kana kuenda kuBritain kana kuenda kuEU kunana Germany kwese vanogona kunyimwa mavhisa. Saka navanyimwa mavhisa zvofamba sei? Asi ndangotaurawo zvangu izvi kuti tingorebesa nyaya iripo chaiyo ndeyekuti mutemo wedu bumbiro reconstitution haribvumiri kuti chizvarwa cheZimbabwe chivhote chiri kune imwe nyika chisiri muno munyika. Ndo pane nyaya yese ipapo.
Very interesting, marvelous. So he's saying that according to the laws of the country, you cannot vote when you are in the diaspora because there's no provision for that, because it is a constituency-based kind of voting system. So let's have a quick reaction from Mr. Charles Mutama. Go ahead, sir, just briefly, because our time is, our time is up almost.
I wish we had Mr. Paradza on the program so that
Yes.
Mr. Mutama and the others could question him directly. Go ahead, Mr. Mutama.
Mutama, go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much, Gibbs, and thank you very much, Marvelous, and the other panelists on the forum. From what I'm hearing, it seems there's unanimity and there's agreement in the fact that the diaspora vote is necessary and is urgent. I would like to thank my colleagues in the MDC, in the MDCT, in ZANU-PF, who have also made contributions here. Particularly of interest is the last contribution by Mr. Paradza that the diaspora vote is not allowed by the Constitution. We would like to state that it is allowed by the Constitution. The only issue is that it needs to be aligned. The Constitution of Zimbabwe needs to be aligned with the Electoral Act. And furthermore, the Constitutional Court or the Supreme Court adjusted that the matter needs to be addressed in Parliament. And as the Patriotic Zimbabwean Party, we read that judgment and saw it fit to approach the August House so that we can begin the process of engagement with our fellow parliamentarians and our ZANU-PF colleagues. So this is a non-partisan issue. This is a matter of national interest. This is important to everybody, regardless of political party, regardless of domicile. Whether you're in Zimbabwe, you're outside Zimbabwe, this is a democratic right. This is a right which our forebearers at the Lancaster House Conference in 1979 agreed. The nationalists whom agreed at the Lancaster House Conference. So we are pushing this in a mutual respect, and we are going to do this peacefully, and we are going to engage our colleagues in government, because Parliament is an arm of government, and we are not going to entertain any shenanigans that derail this process using sensationalism and vitriol. But we want to engage our colleagues using rationalism and the right, or the democratic right, or the human rights of every Zimbabwean, so that Zimbabwe can begin to have a democratic, fully democratic society, and Zimbabweans can enjoy their full rights as Zimbabweans, and everyone can be enfranchised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's bring in Mr. Tenmoyo, and then Marvelous, go ahead before we bring Mr. I think the next one is Rusango. Go ahead, Marvelous.
I was going to ask him Shona, so I'm not very sure. Mr. Moyo,
Okay. Let's just go back to Mr. Mutama briefly, and then we go to Mr. Tenmoyo. Go ahead.
Okay, ndinotenda madare vedu vauya pachirongwa chedu ichi. Zviri kuoneka kuti tose tiri kuwirirana, vari mumapato akasiyana-siyana. Vanga vari muPatriotic Zimbabweans, vari kuMDC Alliance, vari kuZANU-PF, nemamwe mapato ose asiri pano padare redu, kuti sarudzo dzinofanirwa kunge dzichipiwa vose vari mukati menyika nevari kunze kwenyika. Tichienderera mberi nezvataura navaparadza, kuti bumbiro redu remutemo haripe kodzero kune vana veZimbabwe vari kumakungwa, hachisi chokwadi. Bumbiro redu rinotipa kodzero, asi chirikuda kuitwa ndechekuti Electoral Act iwanikwe ichialainwa nebumbiro redu remutemo. Zvekare isu sePatriotic Zimbabweans takateerera gwaro rakataurwa neSupreme Court kuti nyaya yediaspora vote inyaya inofanira kuongororwa nevamakurukota edu eparamende. Saka naizvozvo pazuva ranhasi ndozvataita tikaenda kuparamende kuti iwanikwe ichitanga kugadzirisa nyaya yekuti vana veZimbabwe vari mhiri kwemakungwa vawanikwa vachikwanisa kuvhota. Saka naizvozvo tichatarisa dzimwe nyika kuti dzinozvifambisa sei. Kana tinga tawana izvozvo, topa vadare vedu vemuparamende kuti vachikwanisa kutanga kugadzira bill kana kuti kuamenda constitution kuti tiwanikwe tichisarudza vatungamiri vatinoda tiri mhiri kwemakungwa. Ndinotenda.
Thank you very much. Babu Tenmoyo akutsho ngesintu ukuthi wena ubona njani khonokho. Ngamafutshane sibili ngoba isikhathi sethu sesidlule ngumangoyi.
Yeah, kuyadanisa kakhulu ukuthi a whole minister uParadza will come on a live show like this and lie blatantly to the people that the constitution of Zimbabwe does not allow a diaspora vote. I don't know whether it takes us all for fools or it's just a mere propaganda campaign by ZANU-PF to gaslight and deny and tell people, just provide incorrect information purposely. We all know that the constitution allows for a diaspora vote because it states clearly that all Zimbabweans are allowed to vote. So where does it decide to choose to discriminate against Zimbabweans due to their station of abode? It is wrong for ministers to come on public shows like this and lie blatantly in front of the whole world. And bathi akulanto enjalo thina sithi i-diaspora vote siyazi ukuthi iyavunyelwa i-constitution. Uhulumende akenze okufanele kwenziwe ukuthi abantu izizalwane zeZimbabwe zi-exercise ilungelo lazo lokuvota.
Siyabonga.
Yeah, vanhu vedu vese vamfana kuvumidzwa kuvhota, hatizivi kuti vari kurambidzirwa chii.
Siyabonga
i-right yavo.
Briefly, sei muri kuenda kuNew York tiri kuona nemusi wemugove memory.
Ndinotenda Sister Marvelous. Tiri kuenda kuNew York because it's as per our schedule. Ndo schedule yedu gore negore tinoenda kuNew York pa weekend iyi. tichimirawo in solidarity napresident wedu weZimbabwe nepati yedu yeZANU-PF. Saka izvo tinozvitenda kuti ndozvatogara tichiita. I think vanoziva vanoziva kuti kana vachisangana nesuwo vanosangana nesuwo ikoko tichiita basa redu ritori basa ratinaro kugara tichiinda kuUN tichimirawo takatsigira musangano weZANU-PF negovernment yedu yeZimbabwe. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. But why is it that you are criticizing some of those people that are going there? Why are you doing that?
Hatina kucriticize, but tiri kuti isu, for example, MDC, they are okay. I think you want me to say it in English or Shona?
Yeah, English, just briefly.
All right, thank you.
1 minute,
Right,
exactly.
so-
Yes, 1 minute.
Yes, thank you. So I think we know very well that the MDC, led by Nelson Chamisa, they are a party that is just there for regime change. They are not there to further any accomplishments that the government is doing. And they will come up with any different reasons why they are saying they are going there because they want to protest because of the diaspora vote. But we know that they were there to protest about just the removal of the ZANU-PF government. So we are also going there to make sure that we are also going to be heard by the UN and all other nations that will be there. We have our friends of Zimbabwe, friends of ZANU-PF, from other countries, from America, from other nationalities who will be there waiting for us because we always have these meetings with them in support of our party and our government. So we have no problem with the MDC going to contest, but I know for sure that we will be also there to stand in that gap to support our party and our government.
Thank you very much. We are looking for Mr. Sokora. I think he dropped off, but we've got Mr. Denmoyo who can maybe come out with the MDC side. So tell us a bit, Mr. Moyo.
Yeah, I mean,
Ngicela ukhulume isiNdebele ngoba idala sicela ukuchaya ngesintu.
yeah, well, makuthi sikhuluma ngeprotest eNew York, iprotest esijwayele ukuyenza vele every year. Iminyaka enedlulileyo iprotest ebesiyenza to protest ipresence ka president weZimbabwe, whether bekungumgabe noma uED, because we feel ukuthi idemocracy eZimbabwe iyaleka, kufunakala ama reforms amaningi ukuthi izinto zilungiswe ekhaya. Sonke sifuna ukubona iZimbabwe iphumelela, kodwa kunzima ukuthi iZimbabwe iphumelele ngaphansi kombuso esikubonayo oncindezela abantu. So thina mase siye United Nations siyabe siyotshengisela kwamanye amazwe lama leaders akhona e-United Nations ukubana lathi silesikhalo sokuthi sidinga uncedo ukuthi sikhitshwe phakathi kobunzima lobo esikubo ngaphansi kweZANU-PF. So i-Diaspora vote campaign le esizobe siyenza ngeSaturday is in line with that, ngoba ngelinye ilungelo lethu esililwelayo esifuna ukuthi abantu bakithi bakwazi bavunyelwe ukuthi bavote noma bekuphi.
10 seconds, ngesikhiwa 10 seconds dead.
Well, yeah, like I'm saying, we always go to the United Nations around this time of the year to protest the ZANU-PF government because it is a draconian government that has destroyed democracy and our people. There are so many reforms that need to be put in place to allow democracy to prevail in Zimbabwe, and the only way we can do that is by demonstrating at the United Nations to let other nations know that Zimbabweans out here want change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Futsango. 10 seconds dead. Mr. Futsango?
Yes, go ahead.
Your last word, 10 seconds.
Yes, I would think, like I said earlier, as children of Zimbabwe, especially in the diaspora, all the wishes that we have, they all come to dialogue. That's why our president has called in for Pollard, for all political players who played part in the past election, to come together on the table and talk.
10 seconds. 10 seconds is gone. There's no extra time here, Mr. Futsango. If there was extra time, I was going to give you 15 minutes. Sorry, we're out of time. We have to leave it here. We thank our guests this evening, Mr. Regis Futsango of ZANU-PF, Mr. Charles Mutama, the president of the Patriotic Zimbabweans Party, Mr. Tawanda Tsukora of the MTC Alliance, and Mr. Den Moyo of the MTCT, and Mr. Innocent Ndibali of the Economic Freedom Fighters Zimbabwe. Signing off is Gibbs Dube in Washington, saying good night, Zimbabwe.
I'm Marvelous Mhlanganya. We are in Washington saying let's meet again tomorrow on Let's Talk.
Good night.